So I invite Sayyid Sharif Ahmed Sahib. Sayyid Sharif Ahmed Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khush Ahmaded Hazur. I'll have a, if allowed, very short question, only one. My question is, Hazur, that I think all over the world, many Ahmadis, they have with them the barukat of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wassalam. My question is only this, whether we can show them in our exhibitions or not. What is the Huzur's opinion? In Ahmadiyya exhibition, our Jamaat exhibition.
Those which are spread all over the world can be shown here in this exhibition?
By the grace of Allah, we have got in Toronto also many, and just last month the other pair of the shoe of Hazrat Masih Maud has arrived, reached in California. One pair is here, one is in California.
It's not no problem. In fact, they have been displayed before. The only caution should be applied is that they should be authentic and genuine. For that, certification has to be sought from the center first. Afterwards, there is no problem if it is done under Jamaat's care.
Can I say one more question, sir?
You said only one?
I'm sorry. No, related to this one, sir.
Pardon?
Related to this one. Your answer is if it is already approved or authenticated by Rabwa. It's very right, sir.
I didn't say Rabwa, I said by Jamaat, by the center.
By Jamaat.
By the center.
So thank you very much, Hazur.
Yes.
That one, I received it in 1977 in Rabwa. Immediately, I knew this procedure. I obtained 2 forms from Wakil Tabshir Sahib office, not Sahib, from Wakil Tabshir's office. I filled them. I left them in Rabwa with the tasdeeq of the person who gave me. That person is no more in this world, but I knew that is a genuine. That's right. Then, and with the original certificate of that person who gave me that in 1977, I left it there. Unfortunately, at that time, I never thought I should make a photocopy, and then I followed that through some friend there in Rabwa. I have got all confirmation. Then I wrote the letter to the person who's got the second
This
pair.
is not the right forum for these complaints, please.
It's not a complaint, sir. Okay.
I take it as complaint.
I'll keep quiet.
It may not have originated as complaint, but it has reached me as complaint.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
No, you should be sorry.
Okay.
Listen to me what I'm saying. Pursue it further.
Yes, sir.
Write letters to the authorities concerned, and if they do not respond, then send me a copy. That's all.
Thank you very much, sir. And I have got all the copies. I will send you. Jazakallah. So until that time, we shouldn't display.
Enough?
Assalamu alaikum, Huzur. My question is that if you talk to a non-MD or not an MD, if you talk to them about religion, they will finally get to a place where they say that if Hazrat Isa was born without a father, it's very unusual. So how come he can't be lifted up to the sky? So can you clear this out for us?
If Isa was born without a father, why can't he also go to the heavens? Huh? You see, they are unrelated things. If anybody is born without a father, should he also automatically have the capability of ascending to heavens? This is illogical because most of the hermaphrodites in the animal kingdom are born without fathers, and the life began without fathers. So should they all ascend to heavens? It's illogical. This question has no relationship. To be born without a father is a different thing, and which is quite natural in life, not among the humans, but at least among the subhuman animal level. We find hundreds of thousands of examples or much more in fact, of animals which are born without fathers, just by single parents. So does it automatically imply that they should ascend to heaven? No. So that's it. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
My question is, a non-MD has asked that God sent all the prophets to the Middle East, then why only one prophet, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, was sent to India?
Sent
all the prophets in the Middle East. Why have you sent only one prophet in India?
God has not sent all the prophets in the Middle East. This man, if he is supposed to be a Muslim, never reads his Quran. In the Holy Quran, God has repeatedly mentioned, in so many ways, in different styles, that there is no region of the world where God has not sent messengers. There is no time, no age in the world when God did not send his messengers. So the Holy Quran says this and he says something else. Whom will you follow? What he is claiming is against the clear dictates of the Quran. Have you understood this? According to the Quran, all the prophets were not born in Middle East. The Quran rejects this concept. The Quran clearly dictates that there is no region of the world where God has not sent or had not sent messengers. So what he is claiming is wrong. Okay?
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam. Come a little closer to the microphone, please. Come a bit closer.
My question is, in our prayer, can we recite after Surah Fatiha the last chapter first and the first chapter last?
Again, Marglal Khan, even you have failed to understand this.
Will you please repeat?
In our prayer, can we recite after Surah Fatiha the last chapter first and the first chapter last?
Yes. Normally we follow the chronological order, not chronological, but the order in which we find the Quran today. And if possible, you should recite the first surah first, in that order I mean, and what follows afterwards. But if you change the order, it would not make the namaz wrong. There is nothing wrong in the sense that you will not be answerable for that. God will not be angry with you for doing this. So there is no hadith whatsoever rejecting this. Yet it's a matter of common sense. When you recite two surahs, what is first should be recited first, what follows should be recited afterwards. Apart from that, there is one clear-cut tradition of the Holy Prophet, authentic tradition of the Holy Prophet, which permits recitation of a surah which is revealed, or not revealed, but which follows the order of the Quran later, and a surah, but it is recited first, and a surah which follows before that, and it is recited afterwards. This hadith which I am referring to refers to a Sahabi who used to begin his recitation in the namaz, in the salat, always with